like if there was a faulty machine or something, then it's identified now where, oh, the scanner needs to be cleaned, or we need to, it's not gonna be a situation of it missed any. That we're just this is just a check and balance to prove. These are our the predetermined results here. Then we recreate it to make sure that they match, because that's then the public test to prove it is tabulating properly what we're telling it to, what we want it to. Here's the results. Yeah.
Do the machines every once in a while go through a self-test to make sure that the scanner is not, dirty or anything?
There's maintenance schedules, so they are maintained, they are cleaned, they are charged periodically according to what's required to make sure that they stay.
I'm probably not being clear on what I'm asking. Well, during the election time, when the machines aren't actually tabulating, do they have a self-test routine to make sure all the systems are functioning properly?
No.
Okay.
That would just be covered under the maintenance.
Okay.
However,
well, you said something about if the scanner needs to be cleaned.
Right. So during this testing process, there could be where it may want to jam. So then we're going to just make sure that the pathway is clear. There's simple little troubleshooting things where if it's not completely open the right way, meaning this door back here is open, then it doesn't have the pathway open. So it's just troubleshooting like that. If it were to jam, then we would know, oh, this door wasn't open, let's make sure the path is clear. Or paper, if they're open in a dusty warehouse for 12 hours, if for whatever reason there could be debris or dust or ripped paper for whatever, then that would be something that we could troubleshoot, clean out, and it would continue scanning and tabulating.
Okay, I'll have a question for Linda. After all the machines have done the voting and everything, you've done your tabulating, do you do a retest of the machines after all that to make sure that they're still functioning properly afterwards?
That would be done in routine maintenance.
Okay.
They would check all of the machines at that point.
Is that done right after the election?
It probably varies. I guess I don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
And there's double checks too with your tabulation. So we have, whoever checked into a poll book or something like that, you have a number of ballots issued,
Okay.
which is then checked against the machine tabulation numbers, which then you have the paper ballots for hand counting, to make sure that you have multiple steps where you're verifying that your numbers match also.
I have a long number.
Okay, Linda, so what I'm asking in this question is, once the machines have been, done all their tabulating, zeroed out, doing a test on the machines after the election to make sure that they're still in spec just like you're doing right now. It could possibly identify if there would be any machine defects that have popped up that may have a certain voting location suspect with the ballots on that machine, sort of like a check and balance, a double check. I don't know if you do anything like that, or if there's another procedure that would make my suggestion totally moot.
There's LNA testing that is done on equipment before every election. So that is logistics and accuracy testing. So that takes place before the public test. So every machine is tested. Any necessary things to be done are done, whether it's a calibrating of a screen, whatever. So that's done before every election. Then there's the public test done, and then there's preventative maintenance cycles.
Okay, but what I'm suggesting was, would it make sense to do a test after the election to make sure that all the equipment is still functioning properly? And then if one machine would fail the test, okay, how did it fail it? And could that have been something that would skew the election results for the election?
What we do have, David, and I don't know if this may help you understand a little bit better.
Okay.
But throughout the election day, when all of the machines are being used, then we have a log for the inspector to make sure and log anything that happened during that time. If a technician had to come out and unjam a paper, everything is documented.
Okay.
So that we know, and so when we have our field technician come in, they take a look at all of that information, and then they check on those machines to make sure that they are in proper order. And then we have, and I tried to get on the list, and they told me I couldn't be on the list this year, but the V-Stop, if you want to do an audit of your equipment, then they will come in and do a complete audit, which is like a recount after an election to prove your test results just from another level of testing. And they said we have already gone through that with our equipment in Madison County, and so we're going to have to wait until all the 92 counties have been able to have a chance to go through that program.
Okay.
So.
Well, I told you about my background with the military, with the crypto gear. So one of the things that we did is we did a check on the equipment afterwards. We call it a security check to make sure, yeah, the equipment is working fine. It's just like doing the same test you're doing now, right after the election, to make sure there's not any, you know, dirt in the scanners where it missed picking up a vote for a certain candidate or whatever. And that way, it takes time, takes money, because everything here is time and money. But that way you could certify that before the election was done, the machines were checked. Right after the election was done, the machines were checked again and found to be in perfect working order mechanically.
That's certainly
Something for you to think about.
We can talk about with the board.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I have a question from the Facebook. When they did the public test, did they test all ways of voting, like the write-ins and the questions? I saw it all I did see it on the paper, but if I could have filmed it, they would have got to see that. That was one of the questions. They wanted to know, did you test all areas of voting? Each person that went up and tested, they vote for different people, so that it would show up. Yeah, her answer is yes.
Okay.
You would like for, when Sue is finished, you would like for her to go through that again with you? She can do that.
Well, I saw it. I'm telling them I saw it. I would have liked to have shown them, recorded it. So
I explained in the very beginning of the thing that
you were
that was
going
the
through
reason
all
why
that.
we were doing the multiple precincts and that, so that we hit every target position, every candidate, everything, whether it's a write-in, whether it's
Right.
whatever. Yes.
I did see that. I just wanted to
Yes.
film it. That's what I was saying, so they could have saw it for themselves.
So I have a couple questions. At the last one that you guys did you do multiple, like, different, when you marked the things, they weren't all identical, all the ballots weren't identical when you marked them last time, when we did the last election meeting? So they were like this, they were diversified?
Exactly what we do
You
every
mean, I
time.
mean, like different candidates, correct?
We did the same process.
Okay. And then I just would like to know, when you have these machines, when do you zero them out from like when we do them right now until election day? When do they get zeroed out?
They'll be zeroed out.
Is that, when was our last election? May 5th? So on May 5th at about 11 o'clock, I got on the Madison County website where you could see the votes. And it was, it had about 48 votes already in the machine. They were not zeroed. There were 32 votes exactly the same for the same people, and then there were exactly 12 for the other people. If my numbers are correct, I'd have to go back. So why weren't the machines at zero at that time? And how weird is it that everybody had the same exact votes?
I don't really know what you're talking about.
Okay,
Sorry.
all right, I just wanted to make sure that I had that on the record.
I can tell you that when you looked at the numbers coming across the screen before the polls had closed, those were from a previous election, and they took those down once the new numbers began to come in. that's what you mean.
No, this was during the actual voting time of the actual election.
You said 11 a.m.?
It was about between 10 and 12. I'm not going to give an exact, between 10 and 12.
No, we don't enter any totals until after the polls have closed.
Oh, I know. We've got the files
I have
on
a
it.
copy of it if you want it. It appeared to be just the test
So-
vote data, but the PDF was uploaded.
And it was not cleared out.
I have a copy of it with the timestamp, and I took a screenshot of it.
I'm sure
I'm not saying that they were counted in the vote totals. I honestly don't believe that. That's what the document was, and I can send
And
it.
I'm not
I
saying
know
it.
that
I just
in
want to
the
know it clears.
beginning, when we have our technicians come in who work with our IT department to get all of that information going, they start running old information to make sure that it's showing on the live feed. So more than likely it was just, as you said, it was the test or part of the results.
Yeah, I imagine it's an automated process, and that PDF happened to be there for some reason, and it just did it.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yes, ma'am.
Are all these, is all this equipment battery backed up?
Yes, ma'am.
Generally? So we did not lose power during the last election?
No, ma'am.
In anything, not the tap, no. Well, I read in the paper where you said you was gonna use some of that money that the office got to buy battery backups. Are these batteries
Our batteries
trying to replace
are
them?
set to be replaced in 2025.
Oh.
So they just reach a certain point where you need to replace them, and they'll be replaced then before the 2026 election.
So if these go to like we have those open poll areas, and somebody moves the machines, like you set them up in a certain area, but then say something happened and they needed that area for something else because it was a 2-week process. If these get moved by anybody, do they get re-looked at before they're opened back up to vote on?
They're never closed. During election day, they're not ever closed down. They're just, you can unplug them and move them to another site and they look just like this.
Right, but if you're not there, if you're not there to move it,
It doesn't matter.
Say that you-
A poll worker can move them.
but what
They
if,
can unplug them with a Democrat and a Republican, literally unplug it from the electricity and move it to a different area, and it doesn't disturb anything because they have a battery backup.
okay, but like where you house it at, are they allowed to move the machine? They're not a poll worker. I'm saying, are they allowed? So say you have it in a school and for whatever reason, the superintendent comes in, I need to use this room today. So can they just move the machines?
They're only there for election day.
No, we have open polling.
The
Early.
satellite centers, these are never in a satellite center.
Okay, so
You
what's in
can't
a,
tabulate on early.
what's in a satellite center?
Only the marking device, and the actual ballots come back every day.
Okay, and so those marking devices, can they just be moved to another room
Yeah.
by just anybody and then put back?
That's,
I'm just asking.
Typically, an inspector would be notified, and the inspector would go out and help.
And if they weren't, this has truly happened. I'm not doing this because I just want to ask you a stupid question. This really did happen last election.
I did not receive any reports
Okay.
that occurred.
Sue, where are we with the
okay, right now
petition process?
we've closed the polls on all of them, they've looked at the tapes. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put them into our software, and I'm going to print out reports, so that way we can look at the expected results and then the reports of what you guys just did. Okay?
And Wednesday I got to go around, film the front. Oh. Mm-hmm.
So what you're doing now, is it always you who does that, or is it a certain
Yes.
person from that county that does it?
No, I do it. This is election systems and software. I have been contracted by the county to be their election systems and software representative to manage the software in there.
So you would be the only one that would have the code to that,
The code.
to do that, like, to get into that, so,
That just, all it does is just like logging onto your computer. It's just a computer. It's just a code to open.
listen, I'm just learning this. I'm not sure why you're like, I'm just asking the question. I don't know what's going on.
There's no passcodes or any of that kind of stuff. It's just logging on to the computer. That's what I just did.
Okay, I mean, I don't know what's going on. That's why I'm asking.
Okay, I turned on the computer and I logged in with the password to get onto the computer.
And then you're gonna go into it.
And then I'm gonna go into a program.
Okay, that's what I just didn't know.
Yes, and for security purposes, this is not allowed to be streamed.
Which is fine. I just can't see. I don't know what you're doing. So I.
It wasn't
You're
mentioned.
welcome to come up and watch what she's doing.
Right? You
I
can
mean,
see it, you can hear it.
I mean, I'm just asking the question because I didn't know if this is a separate computer that's brought in just at election time only, or if this is something that's in the cloud that you can get on
This
anywhere.
is the hardened software
There's
system
no,
that
there is
cannot
no
access the internet.
capability of that.
And then there's the thumb drives from the DS200s with the votes is imported here to create the results.
So she can view it, but we can't video.
Correct.
Okay.
That is for security purposes, okay? Security purposes, we can't show our software programs and that for security purposes.
So is this download?
I got to see it. in
No,
person.
no, there is no,
This by state law, state code cannot be accessing the internet anyway.
there
So
is no
it's just-
internet.
It's just a program where we upload the results from the machines to create.
So you're bringing a
our result program.
flash drive from here.
Yeah, which I
Okay,
just
that's
did.
what I'm trying to
Yes,
figure out.
right.
How's it getting